Hey, Upper East Siders and all you scandal-loving listeners out there. You just tuned into the non-judging breakfast pod, where the coffee is strong, the waffles are fresh, and the gossip is hotter than ever. My name is Leaf, and I'm your seasoned Gossip Girl veteran.
And I'm Steve, your newbie, your greenhorn, I don't know, Leaf, what's the season 2 newbie called in Gossip Girl terms?
I don't know, I think it's time to see what you're made of. You're either in for the full ride or not in at all.
All right, well then sit me in the second row with all the other girls and let's go ahead and get started.
Sounds good?
So here's the deal, folks. Leaf has been watching Gossip Girl since it first aired, and I'm tuning in for the first time. And together, we're your dynamic duo, bringing you all the drama, romance, and sometimes questionable fashion choices of this iconic 2007 series.
That's right. Each week we're going to be taking a deep dive into the show one episode at a time. We're going to go through all the hidden parallels, obscure references, and of course the couture catastrophes. We're also going to look at some behind-the-scenes gossip and stories from fandom along the way.
And since we're all about inclusivity here at the Non-Judging Breakfast Pod, there is room for you at the Non-Judging Breakfast table. So go ahead and grab your mimosa, some coffee, and maybe some of Nate and Chuck's special medicine, and let's go ahead and get this started.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've been watching our favorite stoner on the new season of The Boys.
You know, I actually am about to start that. I started the Acolyte instead, which I really liked for a little bit, and then
Well,
there was
if you ever wanted to see Chase Crawford sing, you can watch season 4, episode 4.
awesome. I am
Does a
I
little Joe Cocker
no
up
nice.
where we belong.
Nice. And I am caught up now, so I'm when I get back from Alabama, that's gonna be the first thing I watch. Is it already all out, or is
Yeah,
it
they released 3 episodes last week, and now they're going one episode at a time.
okay? All streaming services. Can we have a talk for 1 second? All streaming services. Why are you taking us back in time? Please stop. Please let us binge our shows.
Now I actually like it because you get to have the water cooler moments.
I get that, but I don't. But there's so. But I don't have a water cooler.
Get a job, Steve. A little bit of sad news. Donald Sutherland passed away.
Yeah, very sad. I heard about that today.
88.
Yeah, yeah. I always think of his scenes in Animal House and the scene where they're all getting high and they talk about being an atom on a park bench, because that's actually one of those things that fucking blew my mind watching that high in college and having the thought of like, wait, what? And like,
Yeah. For me, the very memorable role for me is the original Watcher for Buffy.
oh, correct, yeah, in the first in the Buffy movie, yeah, oh yeah, I remember that.
But today we are talking about Gossip Girl Season 2, Episode 5. The Serena Also Rises.
Yeah, yes, I recognize the title. I don't know that I've even read it. I hate Hemingway.
Yeah, I have not read it.
I've hated Hemingway since in high school when I was supposed to read Old Man and the Sea. I didn't finish it because it was boring, and then I started reading some of his stuff, and I'll say he is a brilliant writer. He's fantastic, but he's such a grumpy old man, and he just always brings me down. I had to read Hills Like White Elephants like 3 times, and it's just so fucking depressing. And he's just such a morose outlook on life.
Wikipedia had this to say about it. The Sun Also Rises is the first novel by American writer Ernest Hemingway. It portrays American and British expatriates who travel along the Camino de Santiago from Paris to Festival of San Fermin in Pamplona to watch the running of the bulls and bullfights. An early modernist novel, it received mixed reviews upon publication. Hemingway's biographer, Jeffrey Myers, writes that it is now recognized as Hemingway's greatest work, and Hemingway scholar Linda Wagner Martin calls it his most important novel. The novel was published in the United States in October 1926 by Scribners. A year later, Jonathan Cape published the novel in London under the title Fiesta. It remains in print.
Yeah. I
Never read it.
Yeah, I have not read it. And like I said, I really don't care to. I never read A Farewell to Arms. I've read short stories. And again, it's not about the writing. He's a brilliant writer. He's got a brilliant command of his technique. Mm-hmm. But it's just, everything is just so nihilistic and depressing and grumpy.
So this episode originally aired on September 22nd, 2008, and the Gossip Girl Wiki episode description reads, in the midst of Fashion Week, a furious Blair learns that her mother, Eleanor, at the suggestion of her protege, Jenny, has given Serena and her new socialite friend, Poppy Lipton, front row seats to Eleanor Waldner's show. Hurt once again by Serena's popularity and her mother's betrayal, Blair decides to sabotage the show. Meanwhile, Dan starts to hang out with Chuck, but a walk on the dark side always has its risks, and Dan learns that the hard way. Lily learns a secret that her new husband, Bart, has been keeping from her.
There's stuff in this episode I love, and there's stuff in this episode I hate.
Really, I love this episode.
There's just parts of it that I don't like. I miss old Blair, but other than that, like the Lily shit is so fucking good.
Episode written by Jessica Queller. She's back. She had 3 pre-strike episodes: The Handmaid's Tale, Blair Waldorf Most Pie, and Roman Holiday.
So the 2 holiday episodes, both really good, really good episodes. And the other one is
Handmaid's Tale. You gave a B. You gave a B minus. I gave a B.
Right, and that was the Masquerade.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it was directed by Patrick R. Norris. Also did 2 strike episodes, or pre-strike episodes: Bad News Blair, the 4th episode, and High Society, the 10th episode.
Yeah. I kind of liked High Society. Yeah, I like High Society.
We both gave High Society an A.
Yeah, High Society. That was the first one with Cece. I really liked that.
Yeah,
one.
you gave Bad News Blair a B minus. I gave it a B plus.
Yeah, I remember having mixed feelings about that one.
It was the photo shoot episode.
Yeah, it's the first Serena and Blair being friends again episode.
Yes,
which that has now lasted a season, right? Because that was episode 4, and now this is episode 5.
Yeah, they had some mini breakups in between, like in episode 13 there.
Well, they everything that has happened between them so far has resolved within the episode it happened. Right? Like the big one being, especially the Thanksgiving episode where, they get into the big fight, but then Blair calls Serena when she relapses and needs Serena there, and Serena drops everything.
I think 13 was their biggest fight, because that's where Blair's almost going to leave.
Yeah. And Serena goes to stop her.
Because she thought she had lost Serena, too.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the last minute, Serena comes and stops her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we get into the episode. When the white tents blossom in Bryant Park, it can only mean one thing: Fashion Week. The time of year when any Park Avenue princess would trade her last Prada pochette for front row seats to the best shows. And we hear the seating chart for Eleanor Waldorf's show is being made by our very own B. In Gossip Girl monologues, as we see Blair arranging the seating chart for Eleanor's fashion show.
Eleanor, I love Margaret Collins in every scene she's ever in, and her writing in this is just, she's like, it's a blessing that she was dragged off to rehab. When she was talking about she's so fucking wrong and so fucking disrespectful, but like that she is just like, fuck it, I don't have any time for anything that isn't my show. Like she just makes that clear from the start that Eleanor is taking no shit right now.
Yeah. Dan and Jenny are walking to school, and apparently Dan has switched his college of choice from Dartmouth to Yale. Looks like Jenny is teaching school altogether.
Yeah, this was a neat, you always have those great Dan and Jenny scenes. And then this one specifically, they pour a lot of exposition into it too. They give you a lot of that info. You know that Dan is fine with being ostracized, but it is still happening. And he seems mostly fine with it. There seems to be maybe a twinge of, the sarcasm says that maybe there's a twinge of hurt there. But there's also this great, you learn, like you said, Jenny's not going to school. You learn that Dan is switching his ideas of where he wants to go to college because of the shift in the writing teachers and stuff. So, yeah.
The Yale poached the writing staff from Dartmouth.
Yeah.
Lily is reviewing her art collection with Bex. Serena has been out partying with a socialite, Poppy Lipton. We also learned that Lily posed for Maplethorpe.
Fucking Bex, are we still doing this? Are we still bringing Bex around? I mean, I know she's our art dealer.
I actually kind of like that, because that's like, it's better than just
continuity.
bringing like some random person in.
It really is. It is good continuity. It's and there were no interactions with Rufus. Yeah. It was, my worry was like, are they gonna do something? But you're right. It makes a lot of sense for Bex to be in this scene.
Chuck is offering to help Blair regain her throne. Blair turns him down. However, the minions are much more impressed with Serena hanging out with Poppy than the tickets to Eleanor's show. Blair and Chuck trade a few more barbs before Blair storms out of the courtyard.
Well, you can kind of see that Chuck is starting to make his play. Mm-hmm. He's starting to try to actively pull his strings a little more now.
King, Blair.
Yeah. The other thing, these girls, they are fangirls, and Serena says something later that describes them even better when she says they're going to flock from one to another. But they are just kind of oohing and ahhing over Serena when Blair starts going in on Chuck, and she's like, "You are nothing. You're like Dan Humphrey, only at least his lame 90s dad loves him." God damn, does she know how to fucking hit him hard.
And as we find out later in the episode, how hard that hits.
Yeah. And I feel like Blair would know that too. That Blair would know that they all know each other so intimately.
Yeah, I'm sure they all know
that
story. Dan is meeting with Noah Shapiro, who is bored with Dan's writing different versions of the same story. Shapiro encourages Dan to get outside his comfort zone.
So I'd like to flash back to episode 2 where Dan said that he's going to turn it into a series, and Jenny said, "I think you're overestimating how much people will enjoy your life." And I was like, "You're right, Jenny. I'm going to stand by that comment now."
But the people around him, maybe he could be the what's the other guy from the POV guy from The Great Gatsby.
Oh yeah.
He's fucking boring as shit, but
yeah,
he sees a lot of crazy stuff going on.
Yeah, exactly.
I forgot to mention this in the first episode where he had that first author, Jeremiah Harris, which they mentioned.
Yeah.
And here, so that was actually being played by Jay McElherney.
Okay.
He was like sort of a hot shot. He was like a lesser Bret Easton Ellis. His big hit was Bright Lights, Big City.
Oh, okay. I have heard. I have heard of that.
But yeah, so they were very excited to get him.
Mm-hmm.
But then he was not a good actor. So they kind of wrote him out and brought this guy in who's an actual actor.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't really love him because I felt like this guy was someone playing a writer. Like I just felt like, with the whiskey on the desk and
I feel like that was probably direction.
I think you're right. I feel
the guy seemed like he was a competent actor.
Yeah. I feel like he was a competent actor who was not given. I didn't like the role. And I didn't like Bukowski shot a shot glass off of my head.
Have you ever Gossip Girl is all surface level? Everything, it's not a main character, it's just a stereotype.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a
You're right.
stereotype.
I need to accept
It's like
that
The
more.
Simpsons.
Yeah.
It's like watching The Simpsons.
Oh my God, you just kind of ruined and made this entire rest of this podcast something even better.
At the atelier, Eleanor needs it girls to bring the press to her shows. Jenny suggests Serena and her new socialite friend.
I love how Eleanor rips the dress away from one of the other people and takes it to Jenny and is like, I need this fixed. That now Jenny is the Eleanor go-to fix-it person.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, that is just that is a very little thing, but I think that's very important.
Yeah, I thought it spoke volumes, especially for the rest of the show and how she trusts Jenny's judgment over and over again.
Yeah, and Jenny is talented. That's I think the key takeaway there.
Yes, they really want us to believe that Jenny is very talented and that dress that she made is great. Robin liked it. We'll get there.
I mean, it's not like an everyday dress, but I liked it. It was it's couture. It's not to be worn out.
Yeah.
It's to go to the Met Ball.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very poofy. It's my note.
Yeah. Dan shows up at the penthouse because he wants Chuck to take him outside of his comfort zone. Blair's Barb earlier clearly got under Chuck's skin because he agrees to take down out with him.
When he's like, yeah, I know you think that I'm blah, blah, blah. I don't think of you. Like, Chuck, I fucking love Chuck in this scene.
Are you gay?
Yeah.
Now, in this scene, and then also the later scene when Dan punches the guy, I thought Chuck seemed a little excited.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was Ed writing or the direction, or a combination.
Yeah.
But I read it as like he was turned on.
Yeah.
Especially after the punch.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't really read into that. I wasn't, but like I could totally see that though too.
And that could be just like reminiscence of the book Chuck, who is bisexual.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Blair is whinging to Dorota about Serena stealing her minions. Blair, already spiraling, discovers that Jenny changed her seating chart. Uh-oh, little Jay, you're stuck on the tracks, and the B train is coming through town.
Yeah, and this is where I felt like I missed season 1 Blair. The fact that she does all of this, that she gets so unhinged on her mom. Like that the person who is very careful not to throw Eric under the bus ever is now willing to fuck her mom over to fuck over Jenny. That didn't sit right with me.
I mean, I think she was kind of like this a little bit, like especially like the Thanksgiving episode.
Yeah,
I feel like Eric is an exception.
Yeah,
she has a very contentious relationship with her mother.
She does.
It's almost similar to the relationship to Serena.
Although I also feel like Blair is, though she's constantly fighting with Eleanor, she also is constantly seeking her approval too. And that's why I thought like your mom was only going to be mad at you for anything that goes wrong once it all comes out that you're doing this. And like, how can you expect to keep any of it a secret? But we'll get to that as we're going on.
I just feel like that is kind of Blair.
Yeah, I feel like it's season 2 Blair is whinier and unravels easier and quicker. I feel like she comes undone.
She was broken already in season 1. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, like once you're broken that first time, it's much easier to break.
Yeah, I guess. I miss the old Blair.
What would Fashion Week be without a fashion victim? Looks like little Jay started her own trend, wearing a bullseye on her back.
Yeah.
And we move into Act 2.
Yeah.
Blair is arguing with Eleanor about the changes to the seating chart. It looks like Blair has figured out Jenny has been skipping class to go work at the atelier. Uh-oh.
I really liked Blair putting this together and like seeing the wheels turning, and it's like, oh, poor Jenny, because like she's caught now.
At a dimly lit bar, a waiter drops a tray full of shots in front of Dan and Chuck. Is Chuck going to date rape Dan?
Yeah, does he actually drug him? Do you think, or does he give him a placebo because Dan is like, give me the Chuck Bass treatment, so Chuck's like,
Well,
I'm gonna fuck with this guy.
I mean, I just don't. Why would he be carrying around a placebo? Because he does eat one himself.
Yeah, but it's Chuck. Like I could, or having like a Tylenol to tell him like, hey, yeah, take this. Don't
I
ask
think it
questions.
was just like ecstasy.
I had that. Yeah, it could be. I just kind of question whether or not he actually would waste his drugs on Dan.
He's a fucking billionaire.
Yeah.
You see how much food these people waste?
Yeah.
Poppy and Serena are having dinner with Lily. Serena is doing the same thing as last week, where she offers up a little protest to the thing, but then just caves in because it's what she really wants to do all along. Again, not sure if she's even consciously aware of this, but it's definitely become a staple of the Serena playbook. Lily finds out that someone bought her nude photo prior to the auction.
And you do see that Serena definitely doesn't want to cross Blair. And you know that, like, you kind of expect this from the start, that, like,
But
she said she
definitely
talked to
lets
Lily.
herself be talked into it.
But she does let herself be talked into it. She lets herself be talked into the cooler thing.
She's the queen of plausible deniability.
Yeah. Wow, she really is, yeah.
Blair shows up the loft under the guise of caring about Jenny, but it is clearly there for the sole purpose of blowing up Jenny's spot.
One thing I wanted to add about the previous scene, I called it was Bart.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I called it right then, and yeah.
I mean, who else would it be?
Exactly. In that next scene, the one that you just read, the skepticism on Rufus's face.
At least you've learned a little bit,
Yeah,
but then Blair just facts are facts. She hasn't been showing up at school.
yeah. And
I may not have her best interest, but facts are facts.
yeah, and I love that. I love that
Rufus
Rufus is
couldn't
like,
do anything.
I know you don't have my kid's interest at heart. Yep.
But yeah,
you're right.
At least Rufus learned from season 1.
Yeah, he really did. Like, that is one of those really big things that I loved about Rufus in that scene, is that he instantly is like, you're here for no good.
Yeah. We shift back to Dan and Chuck in the limo. Dan is clearly trashed. Chuck is bored and kicks Dan out of the limo without his wallet and shoes. Spotted. Dan Humphrey, shoeless and clueless. That's all.
How do you know so many twins? Twins find me.
God, Chuck.
It was. I really enjoyed the Dan kicking him out with no shoes. It's like,
I love their interactions.
Stole his phone.
That's actually one of the reasons why this is one of my favorite episodes of the show.
Yeah. That I loved it. They were great together.
Rufus shows up at the atelier and reads Jenny the Riot Act as Blair watches from the shadows with glee.
Yeah, can't blame Rufus on any of it.
Yeah,
I mean, he's dumping thousands of dollars down the drain for her to skip school. Like that's fucked. But
and to be fair, she is keeping up with all of her assignments.
Yeah, like I get Jenny. Every argument Jenny has is also valid. Rufus's reaction,
he's definitely justified.
Is definitely justified too. I really feel like this is one of those parenting things. Their whole
just
stuff
shows that the relationship is already cracked. That she has to hide this, and
yeah, you're right.
They say in fashion you can become a success overnight, but 1 minute you're in and the next you're out. We come back from commercial break. Rufus is making waffles at the loft while Jenny reads in sullen silence. Rufus lets Jenny know that she has to go to school on a Saturday to apologize to Headmistress Queller.
Yeah.
Dad?
Yeah. Good Taylor Momsen scene. She did some great work here.
Yeah, she played a perfect angry teenage girl.
She really did.
And again, this is a good move by Rufus.
Yeah.
Getting her a chance to apologize.
Yeah. I don't
On a
care.
Saturday.
It's Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blair and Serena fight. Blair is mad at Serena for stealing her spotlight. Serena is mad at Blair for being Blair. Can't we all just get along?
And that really and like Serena's right to be mad at Blair for being Blair, because Blair comes at her out of nowhere with all of these accusations, and nothing Serena says gets her to back off. So Serena's like, all right, fuck off, Blair. And which is how all of their fights have gone. It has always been, Blair erupts over something Serena says or a look Serena gives her or something. Serena's like, okay, fine, I'm not dealing with this. Fuck off, Blair. And then an emergency happens to bring them back together.
Noah Shapiro is getting awfully meta with his advice to Dan. Your protagonist character is boring. Write about Charlie Trout.
Yeah.
This is just clearly the writers getting meta. Because Penn Badgley's number 3 on the call sheet behind Blake and Layton.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be the main character.
Yeah.
Was not very popular. So, and Chuck was much more popular. So
yeah.
This is clearly the writers being meta.
Yeah. And needing a less boring protagonist, having created a pretty boring protagonist.
It turns out Bart is the one who bought Lily's racy photo. Apparently, Lily likes being stalked.
Yeah.
And this is like a scene where you really see the similarities between Lily and Serena.
Yeah.
They like the attention, no matter if it's negative or positive. They just like the attention.
And earlier in the episode, when Serena found out about the picture, you see that too. That Serena's like, oh yeah, like,
you're awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. And here, so as far as the stalking goes, to me it was Bart Bass learned of this picture and bought it. At that point, right, that is as far as I took it. And I saw it as, I understood why she was excited. She wanted this thing, and now he's buying it. And I'm sure there's a story behind how he got to have it.
Yeah.
So that's where that excitement comes from, Yeah,
I didn't tell anyone, so he's just like looking into me. And
yeah. But at the same time, I'm sitting there thinking Bart Bass is never going to let anyone see a naked picture of his wife. Ever. No way that superhero villain.
Yeah.
That super villain.
Well, I mean, he really pulls off his mask in this episode.
Oh yeah.
Up until this point, like, we kind of suspected this guy is kind of evil, but he hasn't really shown his hand until now.
Yeah. Well, and we'll get to that.
The needle drops. Lady Gaga plays. Vitamin water is on display as we're officially at Fashion Week. Blair is being petty with Serena, but Jenny once again jumps in front of the B train to make sure the show goes off without a hitch. Eleanor makes Blair feel like shit.
He has no fucking time for Blair's shit, and I love it. I love how she's just like, what are you doing, Blair?
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, get out of here. Not now.
Yeah. Chuck is trying to bond with Bart, but Bart completely blows him off. Dan overhears and sits down to find his story. Dan slowly sliding into the Upper East Side lifestyle of using friends and family to get ahead.
Yeah. It's the first time Robin has ever said she wanted to give Chuck Bass a hug.
Oh, they're going overdrive to make him a sympathetic character.
I mean, and in this,
it's working.
It works.
Yeah.
I mean, he's good. The Batman voice is silly, but like the conversation with Bart is fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And like, I never had a cats in the cradle dad like that. Like, as complicated as my relationship with my dad was always there if I ever like needed him. Like, yes, he worked a lot and he was he was the one who I saw less of, but I never had that, but you still had that real heart wrenching, like, that feeling of like, God, how much that sucks to just be blown off like that by someone who all you want is to see him, you know?
Blair is still being petty and taking out all her insecurities regarding her mother and Serena out on Jenny without caring who gets in the crossfire. Looks like she is going to sabotage Jenny's next task.
I have two things here, and the first is just like, Blair, how does this actually benefit you? Like, yeah, you're making Jenny look bad, but how does it actually?
It's not. She's just lashing out.
Yeah, and she was so, again, like, she used to be so calculated. She would steal the batteries and research Flow Rida songs, but like, she had a plan. Also, why?
But she was never fighting against Serena directly.
Right. But so that brings me to my other thing, though. You're the stage manager that you just saw Blair try to fuck everything up and just got told, no, don't listen to her. Why, when Blair comes up to you and says, oh, I'm taking over for Jenny now, you're like, dope. Here's what you need to do, and I will just not go verify this.
Well, technically, she didn't say she was taking over for Jenny. She just found out what she was doing, and then she went and told the models to leave.
She said something like, I
want to make sure we don't mix up our tasks again. So tell me what Jenny's supposed to do.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
And then she just went in and told them all to leave.
Yeah.
So Jenny would be blamed.
Yeah. Because that couldn't possibly backfire. Because no one could verify who sent them all home.
Spotted. Blair Waldorf looking to do a good deed. There's a first time for everything. And that is the end of Act 2. We move into the final act. Dan is trying to get inside Chuck's head. Chuck gets bored with 20 questions and decides to make an indecent proposal to a woman at the bar. The woman is offended and her boyfriend tries to pick a fight. Dan jumps in and drops the boyfriend with a right overhand. Chuck looks like he has a new best friend.
What Chuck says something interesting. He says, "What's your dad like?" And Chuck says, "He's like me,
but older and meaner."
And you've seen over and over that Chuck aspires to be his dad.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to be his dad, but he also wants a relationship.
But does he really want to be his dad, or he just want his dad's approval, and he thinks that's the way to get it?
And I think that's more of the point I was going for, is that he wants to be, he wants that approval, and he thinks to get his dad's approval, he has to be his dad. When really it's just, gotta bring your mom back. Need necromancy to get on your dad's goods.
Rufus comes home to an empty loft to find out Jenny failed her interview.
Yeah. I don't think I even took a note for this scene, but it was just, fuck. Like, things have escalated. Yeah.
That damn Jenny. At the show, Jenny ignores a call from Rufus, only to discover Blair sent all the models home. Early season 1 Jenny appears to be back, always reacting and landing on her feet.
Yeah. Yeah, Blair sent them home. Like, she knew Blair sent them home. All she has to do is say, yeah, Blair sent them home, I'll figure it out. And she does figure it out. And one thing that I love about it is that she sees Serena and she knows that she can go to her. But, like, Serena loves Jenny. And now Jenny later on does have the conversation about Serena. But Jenny has always been friendly with Serena.
Yeah.
And Serena has always loved Jenny as a little sister.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes so much sense for her to go to her for this favor, too.
Yeah. Dan and Chuck are in a holding cell. Chuck is extremely grateful for Dan stepping in on his behalf. Chuck reveals that Bart hates him because his mother died in childbirth.
Yeah. So this is the first mention of Chuck's mom since the pilot.
Yeah.
And in the pilot, they only say that she has pills. Like, dipping into her pills.
Yeah.
Which there could still be a medicine cabinet with, I mean, Chuck would have raided it by now, but there could.
I mean, you would think they'd be expired too.
Well, yeah, but if you're like, if you're a, 16-year-old who's just popping anything to see what it'll do, expired might not bother you.
Yeah, he's not an average 16-year-old. He doesn't have to fucking. He can get the good shit.
Yeah, but like, where does his experimenting start?
Bart arrives home with a gift other than the one Lily was expecting. It turns out Bart only bought the photo so no one could ever see it.
Aside from everything, fucking Kelly Rutherford in this scene, man, her reactions, her face, the control she has in her face shows every flash of emotion going through that whole conversation. And when she's like, I want to see it. And this scene and the next one made the scene in the season finale of season 1, now it's creepy. Remember, we went back and forth a little bit about that and how I was just like, yeah, I could see how he would pick up on Rufus, on the Rufus thing.
Yeah, I was kind of hinting at it.
But now, yeah, I remember you hinting at it a little bit, but now it's creepy. Because now he has dug into every aspect of her life. And he's a fucking super villain.
Jenny's plan is to use Serena, Poppy, and her friends as models. How handy is it that society girls are wafer thin?
Eleanor again, when every time he goes to rehab, his sales soar. About the Marc Jacobs.
Yeah. Jenny's plan. Okay, so the show seems to be a big success. Serena is still feeling guilty, but she lets Poppy convince her to walk in the show. However, it looks like Blair may still have one last hole card up her sleeve.
Yeah, and so Poppy's right on everything here, and it's a great scene, a great acknowledgement for Serena of like, wow, I really do hold back because Blair gets upset, and she does. We've seen it over and over, especially now that we're for the first time seeing Serena take the forefront and Blair's acting badly. In fact, that earlier scene where she says, they're like a flock of hummingbirds. They're on to me this week. They'll be on to someone else next week, and they'll be back to you eventually too. Which also shows that Serena, these things just come naturally for her, and she doesn't have to work for it.
It looks like Blair gave Serena a dress designed by Jenny. I have to think Blair thought Jenny's dress would be a flop.
And even if it wasn't a flop, she knew it would be controversial. Like, she has that tell early on when she's like, oh, so you snuck your dress into the Eleanor Waldorf line. Like, she knew that even if it was good, like, either way, Blair was going to, like, get what she wanted. But also, I would assume that Blair thought that dress would suck.
I also like to point out the whole fashion shoot I like the way it was shot. You don't get a lot of action shots in Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
I did think they did a good job with the directing there.
Yeah, I agreed.
Blair admits that she was taking her Serena frustration out on Jenny. Jenny tells Blair that Jenny wanted to be friends with Blair, not Serena last year. This scene is a mirror of Jenny and Eleanor's scene from The Dark Knight.
Yeah, and it's a nice Jenny Blair scene.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see them
I like to see them bonding.
Yeah. They bond, and they kind of put a lot of the last year's shit behind them finally.
And then we go to a commercial, and at the police station, Chuck accidentally gets Dan's personal effects and discovers the story about himself.
Bum, bum, bum.
Why are you carrying around with you, Dan?
Yeah, why? With all the notes on it and everything, too? Like, you fucking idiot.
All the red ink.
Yeah.
Lily and Bart are fighting about Bart's investigations. However, it looks like Lily has a secret bigger than all the rest.
Yeah. Who did Lily pass coke to? Because that's where my mind
Who's dead?
is dead. Who's fucking dead, Lily?
Chuck confronts Tan about the story. Chuck lashes out in anger, but he's clearly hurting from the betrayal.
And it was fair, like.
And yeah, again, I did like Ed Westbrook's acting in the scene.
Yeah.
He saw that he was hurt.
Yeah. Ed was really good in this whole episode.
He thought he had a friend.
Yeah. And he didn't really, and it was like a momentary, he thought he actually was connecting with someone.
Because he likes Nate, but Nate's probably not the best conversationalist.
Yeah, Chuck needs more than just a friend. He needs a frenemy, and he needs someone that can challenge him on some level, and Dan can challenge him.
Eleanor is about to end Jenny's career when Jenny and Blair team up in the moment to convince Eleanor to take credit for Jenny's dress, which everyone loved.
Yeah, and so after all of this shit, Blair, you're just like, my B. Like, sorry.
I do it.
I didn't do it.
Looks like Jenny still has her dad to contend with, but she's able to put it off for just a little while longer.
Cold-blooded.
Yeah. No, my dad's out of town.
Yeah, my dad's out of town. That's that crazy dude. Just
don't
crazy
let him in.
Don't let him in.
And then we move. It's the epilogue. Dan is getting bailed out by Noah Shapiro. Dan pulls back from the dark side for the time being, but Shapiro tells him he will never amount to anything with that attitude.
Yeah, Shapiro's such an asshole. And the thought of the only way you can be a good writer is to be a complete fucking exploitive asshole. I'm sure there's other.
I might just come up with something.
Yeah, I could maybe try to just, I don't know, be creative.
Yeah.
And
again, it's harder for dumb writers to write smart. It's harder for bad writers to write good writing.
Yeah.
So I'm just playing along that Dan is a good writer, just like Jenny is a good fashion designer.
Yeah. He says well, maybe I'll write about this crotchety old washed up husband. He's like, yeah, I can't wait to read it and read his digest. I'll use it to prop up my Pulitzers. That was fantastic. Yeah. I love those moments when Dan thinks ha, got him. Then it's boom. Oh.
At the post-show wrap-up, Eleanor specifically thanks Jenny for all her hard work. Rufus hears this and seems impressed.
Yeah, and Rufus needs to hear that, needs to hear that Jenny is really good at this.
Yeah.
And that she is praised for her work by one of the most powerful people. I'd say up and coming, right? Eleanor's powerful up and coming.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the show, she was just about to take her company public.
Yeah. So she is very powerful.
I guess at this, we're to assume at this point she has a public IPO at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and is competing with Marc Jacobs.
Yes.
So she's on that level.
Yeah.
She's worried about who's at his show. So here is one of the most powerful people in the industry who is now saying your daughter is saving her show.
Blair and Serena have a conversation. It looks as though Blair is trying to be humble, but Serena shuts that down. Dan might be resisting the dark side for now, but it appears Darth Serena is here to stay.
Much better heel turn than last week.
Yeah.
Much more concise, much more directed, and much more motivated. Last week, I didn't feel like it was a great motivative. There was a lot behind the heel turn.
Well, yeah, she was hurt last week. This week, she just kind of pissed off.
Well, and she's over it.
Yeah.
Right? She's over 16 years of not wanting to hurt Blair's feelings.
And she has a new friend too.
She has a new friend, and she just got out of this relationship that she was in, so she's got nothing else really going on too. She basically had the Blair reaction to Blair when Blair came up to be humble. But like, I can't be mad at Serena for it. Like,
oh yeah, Blair was horrible all episode.
Yeah.
Apparently, Rufus wasn't all that impressed after all, because as soon as he gets Jenny alone, he starts yelling at her again. Looks like little Jay is dropping out of Constance.
Man, I like we said earlier on, the two of them both are making strong, valid points.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm really more on Team Jenny here because, like, she actually has access to have her career right now.
Yeah.
And what, like, I am
set her up at a homeschool program.
Yeah. And I'm an educator, and I, as an educator, I have always very strongly believed that we should not be sitting kids in high schools for 4 years learning shit that they don't need when they could be learning about the things they actually want to be doing.
Yeah.
And I'm a very big, advocate for trade schools, and high school should be for people that want to go to college or want to work in areas that you need that level of education. And here Jenny has this opportunity to do an internship and work for one of the most powerful people in the industry. Jenny right now is fast-tracked to the career of her choice.
Yeah, the who's who of the fashion world just said her dress design is awesome.
Yeah, just complimented her dress design. Yeah. And Rufus is, and when she says the thing about, like, maybe you're more talented than me, and it's like, maybe she is. Yeah, I think she might be, Rufus. Both of your kids might be. Yeah. You're gonna need, and now I like that Rufus is like, I hope you are. I hope that is the case. But I also
hate the difference between the way he treats Stan and the way he treats Jen.
Yes. You're absolutely right. He treats her like a little girl all the time. Yeah. And it's something that as a dad that I, of both, I have a son and a daughter, and I've got a in between, and you treat all three of them differently. And yeah, but at the same time, I've made it a very conscious effort not to treat my daughter like a little girl. I don't try to exclude her from sports conversations and stuff like that. Like I don't treat her differently than the other two. At least I try not to. And there are times that I have to have those moments where I take a step back. Mm-hmm. We've actually talked about this since, but the first time I saw her after the pandemic, I hadn't seen her for over a year. I did not see my daughter the year that she was 13. And I saw her after the pandemic. And the first time I saw her, I went into her room and she was wearing very short shorts and a very tight crop top shirt, the kind of stuff that she just lounges around in. And I was not expecting it. And she was at this point 14 years old. And I went in and I saw her and saw what she was wearing. And the guy that I was raised as was like, what the fuck, does your fucking mother know you wear that? And all of these things are going through my head, and I just look at her and I go, hey, just want to let you know dinner's ready. She's like, thanks, Dad. No problem. And I closed the door and I went downstairs and I looked at Robin, and Robin and I looked at each other and we were like, what the fuck is she wearing? And we had that moment together, and then we're like, okay, we are not going to be those parents. We are not going to be the ones who are going to shame our kids' clothing. We trust our kids. We know what they're doing. Lock it the fuck down. So Emily never knew what was going on in my head, but I'm sure that there are times that comes across,
Yeah. Circling back to Rufus, I think the best example of his double standard would be the episode 10, the High Society, where
Boy, he dresses Dan in the tux.
he says Jenny can't go to the thing.
Yeah.
But he's like, he's pushing Dan to
But
go.
yeah, he's like dressing him in the tux to go. And, you know, yeah. And you're right. That's the most glaring. And there are others too, you know. A lot of this whole storyline of Jenny wanting to do the fashion thing.
Yeah.
Dan's encouraged to go into writing, but it's because he's doing it the way Rufus wants him to, too.
Yeah.
You know? But, yeah.
He's playing by the rules.
Stupid rules.
We'll see if he sticks by that. He was typing up a story there at the end.
He was. What are you doing?
Speaking of which, we end the episode with a montage. Chuck reading Dan's story, Dan typing at his laptop, Jenny admires her dress, Lily and Bart coldly go about their lives. Blair looks on with envy as Serena and Poppy get their pictures taken.
I don't really have anything on that. Something I did want to comment on is I feel like the pacing of the show, these last two episodes, we said that you said last week, the writers seemed to find their stride, and we had agreed on that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they're still hitting that. The last two episodes, I took 2 pages of notes. Prior to that, it was usually 2.5. And in some cases, I think there might have been fewer scenes. But again, it speaks to the pacing that they've kind of drawn out, especially the exposition scenes and especially the beginning. Yeah. There's a lot of drawn out scene work, and I find that there's a new rhythm to the show since they've been back to New York.
I feel like from episode 15 of the first season up until like the second episode of the second season was kind of like a soft reboot of the show.
Yeah.
And now they found their new groove.
Yeah. Did they run out of books after season 1, or did they just veer off completely?
Oh, they completely veered off the books. The only thing,
only the kiss on the lips party.
The first book was basically the first episode.
Got it.
And then we end the episode with another Gossip Girl monologue. If there is one thing that I've learned, there would be no gossip without secrets. You might be brave enough to reveal your secret only to have it used against you. Once someone else's secret might affect you in unexpected ways. There are some secrets you're only too happy to keep. Others surface only to be buried away deeper than they were before. But the most powerful secrets are the truths you thought you could never reveal, that once spoken changed everything. But don't worry, B. The brightest stars burn out the fastest, or at least that's what I've heard. Waiting for a star to fall. XOXO Gossip Girl. What's coming next?
Well, I'm kind of sensing a Jenny and Blair versus Serena thing maybe boiling up. It'd be weird, I think, for Jenny to go against Serena, but like Blair, it would not be out of character for Blair to unwittingly use Jenny.
What's next for Jenny at the atelier?
I mean, right now she's turning heads. You know, she just had this. You know, she made Eleanor really mad, but then Eleanor seemed to come around. So I feel like she's gonna have. I don't know, because like, I hope she does drop out of Constance, and I hope that she does do some kind of bigger internship there. But I feel like Rufus is going to be a dick about it.
It's only if Jenny knew someone who was homeschooled.
Oh, she has a friend that's homeschooled. That's right. Yeah. Vanessa's homeschooled.
What about for Serena and Blair? What's they going to just continue to fight?
Well, I mean, I feel like I said before, their previous fights concluded when there was an emergency. But their other previous fights were also Blair flipping out on Serena, Serena not having it, going away, emergency happens, they come back together, they're good. So I kind of feel like we're gonna see them actually go toe to toe for a little bit. Because, the last time we saw them go toe to toe, it was episode 3, and Blair was, we saw Serena could play the game, but Blair was better.
Mm-hmm.
But now I also have to think that Serena knows how to play the game, but Serena wasn't at top form then, So I think that now that Serena's going to be in top form, I think we're going to get a few episodes of this at least.
What about Dan and Chuck? Are we going to get anything more from them?
I wouldn't assume too much would happen right away. I feel like just the way that this show can write sometimes, that's going to be something that comes up in a new situation down the road. Okay. That we'll see another pairing of that, but I think I don't expect this, unless that story he's writing actually has something to do with Chuck, but I doubt it.
And then any idea what Lily's secret could be?
She handed somebody Coke. I mean, what is bigger than naked pictures? What is bigger than, it goes back to somebody dead. What she was about to show her kids her naked art.
Yeah. So what would she be hiding from her kids?
What is she going to hide from them that is like, who's dead?
This again.
Yeah, and how are you topping that? Do you guys remember you killed someone last season?
Like mother, like daughter.
Yeah. Well, they're just mowing them down.
All right, let's go ahead and get into some segments. This week in fandom, we jumped into the Wayback Machine to check out the Television Without Pity forums. So this week, everyone really liked the Dan and Chuck interactions. That was the talk of the town. Please, sir, can I have some more? There's a pretty even split between the Serenas and the Blairs. Not a lot of middle ground. So people are like, "Oh, I'm a Serena. Blair's horrible," or "I'm a Blair. Serena's the worst."
Yeah.
Dan is a bad writer, as we said.
Yeah,
bad writers can't write.
Yeah. We just have to accept.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that even in this universe are no longer accepting that he's a good writer.
Well, I think that they're appreciative of his technique. He just doesn't have enough ideas yet.
Yeah, and he doesn't have.
So he's showing potential because the guy saw his first story and liked it.
Yeah.
So he has potential. He just needs to branch out and get some more ideas.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's the way I took it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A lot of people failed to notice that Nate and Vanessa were even absent.
Oh, wow. Ouch. I did notice that there was a no Nate in this.
And no Vanessa either.
I don't pay attention to no Vanessa because that's not as unusual, I feel.
Yeah.
Especially coming off of season 1. I guess she was in every episode this season so far, but in season 1, she was in and out constantly, I felt.
Yeah. Poor Chuck. I love confection. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Most think Jenny's a brat.
Yes. Well,
I mean, she is a brat, but I like her.
Yeah, but and like
she's going after what she wants.
Yeah, like
she's doing the same thing Blair always does.
She's doing the same thing Rufus did as a kid.
Yeah.
She's I think she's right. She's a brat, but she's right.
Moving into episode grades, you are first this week. What do you got?
So yeah, I like some of this. Like I said, I missed the old Blair, but I really feel like the writing in this, the directing in this, it was a good episode. It was really solid. I wouldn't say one of my favorites, but I'd say it's good. I gave this one a B+.
Okay. So I really liked the directing in this episode and the writing and the acting. I gave this an A. I felt like this is the Soft reboot is over. This is the show, and they are in full swing now.
Yeah, I think I need to get a little more on board with the new with the new show. You know, with
It's the
where
New
we
World
are.
Order, Steve. Get with
Yeah.
the program.
Well, the thing is that I thought I was with the Marcus stuff, right? Because then I thought like, oh, we're a soap opera now. But now it's back to being. It is kind of back to that. You know, these friends fighting and scheming with each other. So, you know, we are getting back to that again.
Whenever you see guest stars come into the picture, that's the signal for a soap storylines are coming in.
Oh, okay. All right.
But then they have they keep like the main cast and serious storylines with each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Stock watch, who you got going up?
So going up, Serena, who's walking out on top of here, little J, Jenny's stock went up. Eleanor, her show was a huge hit. And that's actually all I have going up in this one.
I actually had exactly the same for exactly the same reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, Eleanor's show's a hit. Jenny had the big dress and was the the key player to making the show work. And Serena's a huge star.
Yeah, yeah. They took it. The only one I had going down was Blair. I felt like, you know, Blair lost control and her schemes none of them panned out, and none of them were going to work in her favor if they did pan out. Like she only got out of this episode okay because her schemes didn't work, because she was out schemed. Otherwise, she would have been fucked. So yeah. She's the only one I had going down.
I had a lot more people going down. I did have I had Blair going down for the same reason. She failed and she was just horrible this whole episode.
Yeah.
I also had Rufus going down because the whole double standard thing I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that's a fair one to go down.
I had Dad going down. He did sort of the right moral thing, but he did the bad thing for his career. I think he could have made a compromise by like changing the story up a little bit, making it less obvious who he was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely should have worked with it.
Yeah,
and added, you know, what's that?
And maybe that's what he is doing at the end.
Yeah. Well, and that is actually what you're describing is why I had him go nowhere. Is that like he had the opportunity, he didn't really take the opportunity. He kind of goes. So I landed him in the middle.
I also had Chuck going down because I mean he thought he had a friend, and he's just a sad boy. He is a sad boy.
I thought about Chuck. I actually thought about writing Chuck, and I felt too bad because I felt too bad for Chuck to give him the down this week because of his fucking dad.
I'm merciless.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? That's the other one.
I'm older and meaner than Chuck.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to put Bart Bass going down too.
Yep.
I forgot. I forgot about him.
I do have him on my list as well because he was just super creepy. Revealed his true supervillain nature finally.
Fucking stalked his.
And then I had Lily also going down because she like at first was like turned on by the stalking, but then like when she realized how far it was, then she's just kind of like stuck.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah. I think Lily is another fair one. I didn't have her going down. And partially because of just how great Kelly Rutherford was. That one scene, she just fucking every emotion you can feel passed across her face, and she was so good.
Who do you have for best outfit?
Speaking of which, I have Lily's purple outfit from the beginning when she's talking with Bex in that opening, in her first scene.
Okay, so like the purple top with the floral print dress.
Yeah, with the floral print dress, yes.
Okay. I did not like the dress. I thought it looked kind of like drapes. I did like the top.
Oh, okay. That's fair. That's fair.
And I actually gave it to her purple dress at the end specifically once she put on the emerald necklace.
Oh,
the very end.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I also really liked Chuck's. You said he looked like Fred from Scooby-Doo the other episode.
Uh-huh.
Now he really looked like...
He did. He had like full ascot.
That is it for segments. Oh, you got anything to plug this week?
I don't really have anything to plug this week, but please feel free to follow me on Instagram and on TikTok, steve.marchon, Marchion. And yeah, keep an eye out in case I book something by now that I didn't realize I booked.
All right. Just gonna recommend go watch The Boys. Our buddy Chase Crawford is very hilarious. If you haven't seen it yet, new season is out. And I guess by the time this episode's released, the full season will have come out. And you can follow the podcast on all the social medias, TikTok and Instagram at Non-Judging Breakfast Pod, on Twitter at NJB Pod. We're also on Facebook, where there's a group and a page, Non-Judging Breakfast Pod. You can also find our Discord and Reddit, as well as episodes on our website, nonjudgingbreakfastpod.com.
And if you'd like to send us an email, we'd love to hear your thoughts and read it on air and hear what you have to say. And you can send us that email at nonjudgingbreakfastpod@gmail.com. Also, please like and subscribe and leave a comment, especially really helps with our visibility on
Apple reviews.
On Apple reviews. So please also tell a friend, let them know what you're listening to, and hey, go ahead and listen together.
We will be back next week to talk about Season 2, Episode 6, New Haven Can Wait. The next episode preview reads, Blair, Serena, Dan, Nate, and Chuck visit Yale University.
Oh, interesting, because we might have a special guest next week who just finished their they are going to college in the fall and has gone on some college visits.
Well,
so
stay tuned for that to see how it might be.
We will see.
Well, until next time, you know you love us.
XOXO.